Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's tips and tricks. I cannot believe that it is October already. We are well into Q4. Hopefully, things are going well for you all as we're trying to wrap up the year, with more engagement, more revenue, more whatever we can get our hands on to show a solid 2021. So it's our goal here with these tips and tricks calls to show you how to deep dive into Aptivata and show a few features that that we feel might be getting overlooked or that you might not even know about. And of course, we'll also be talking about some stuff that maybe you're already aware of, but we wanted to make sure that everybody is on the same page. My name is Tim Sessions. I'm the Director of Client Services, and I will be taking you through today's tips and tricks. So let's jump right into things. I do have Ryan on the back end ready to answer any questions that you might have. And also he will be posting the link to our contest. So if you're new around here, we give away $100 to Amazon on every call. It's our carrot that we dangle to make sure that you sit through the webinar and take in everything we have to offer, because we do give that away at the end. So in the chat, Ryan should be posting the link to the Amazon gift card giveaway. Again, that is $100, and it can't come at a better time as we're ramping up for the holidays. So we'll announce that in the end, and you must be present to win. Also at the end, there will be a survey. We do read the feedback. I read last month's feedback, and there were some things in there that were really good that I took into consideration for this call. The feedback is anonymous, so if you've given some feedback from last month and you notice any changes from this month, let me know in the comments, in the survey feedback. But we do read those because we only want to make each and every one of these better. So the agenda today, we're going to be talking about some recent updates to the platform that you may have already noticed. And then the feature is going to be navigating Userbase. So that is an app that you have access to in your account that helps you query data. So we'll be talking about that. So let's jump right into things with recent updates. The first thing that I want to point out, you may or may not have noticed in the dashboard, but is live, is this promotion recap email field. And it's under more settings in a sweepstakes. And I'll actually be walking you through how to find that in just a minute. But basically what it does is at the end of a promotion, with an email that's input in the recap email field, it will send a recap of the stats of how that promotion did. Now, if that promotion is a hosted syndicated promotion, so it's syndicated across several accounts, if this is put in the parent promotion, then you will get a recap of the syndicated stats across all of the accounts that it was installed on. And again, I'll show you where that is. Also, you can add multiple emails to this field. Something to consider though, is that you must have the email address present prior to the contest closing. So it doesn't have to be there when you create the contest and the contest starts, but what triggers that email is the end date and time in the scheduler. So when that is done, then it will trigger off that email. Let's say you did forget to put in an email address and you want to send off that recap email, you could temporarily make the contest live for 1 minute and wait for it to expire, and it will send off that email. But a best practice is to always make sure that that email is present during the time frame of the contest. We understand that making a contest live after the rules say it expires could have some minor legal ramifications. I'm not an expert there, but I'll just say that. Anyway, you can have multiple email addresses in there, and you can, send it to yourself, send it to your boss, send it to a sponsor. But yes, multiple emails are allowed. One thing I did forget to mention, if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask them in the Q&A panel. I know we have the chat screen, but if you ask them in the Q&A panel, it will help us categorize any questions that are asked, and we can either talk about the answers on air, or Ryan on the back can answer those as well as we go along. All right, so what does the recap email look like? It's a CSV. We've divided it up into specific areas. So basically it just spits out the numbers that have, been presented in the stats. So that is a screenshot of the CSV file. So where to find it and how it works. Let's take a look at the admin real quick and show you where we're at. So we're in a sweepstakes. You go to more settings and promotion recap email. So if I wanted to receive the promotion recap, then I will put it in here, and with a comma separated email, I can add, I could add Ryan to this as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right, so that is a recent update that we are very excited about, and hopefully you all will find it useful as well. So jumping back into the presentation, there is another update that you may or may not have noticed, but we've updated the step 1 entry form. So on the left here is the old view, and on the right is the new view. So essentially what we've done is we've simplified it. We've made it look a little bit cleaner. It should match, most websites. You're not forced to have these big colorful blocks on your website. And we've centered the submit your entry button, which we have had some feedback about that in the past. So I'm happy to announce that it has been updated. Now, jumping back into the admin, I want to be sure to point out that when you're editing your contest, you actually won't see the update on the back end. So as you're editing here, it's still going to look the old way. But as you look at the contest in a preview, then the new form has been updated. And what's really cool is how the buttons highlight as you hover over them. So I'm just going to say this, might get in trouble for saying this, but because we have made this minor update to the entry form, it could be a sign of what is to come. And I'll just leave it at that. I'm gonna leave you with a little teaser there. Anyway, happy to make some changes to the platform, clean it up, make it look nicer. All right, I'm gonna stop talking about that before I get in any more trouble. Okay, so the meat of this webinar is using Userbase effectively. I probably should have set up a poll prior to this call to see, how many of you are utilizing Userbase and how it works. But I just feel like that it's a very powerful tool to query data in individual accounts and to be able to use this information to retarget customers, of course, as long as you have that permission to do so. You can really dive into the data that you are collecting as a company, because here at Aptivata, we provide that a way to collect that first party data. So jumping around, I know I'm jumping around between screens a lot, but let's dive into Userbase. So you're going to actually find it over here on the left-hand side. It looks like a little pie chart. And I've actually preloaded some segments in here that will kind of give you an idea of what Userbase can do. But to start, the one thing that I wanted to point out, because we actually get this question quite often in our chat system, is, hey, so-and-so reached out to the station and they want nothing to do with having their data in a database. Now, if you know the station that they have opted into or stations, you can actually come to Userbase and put in their email address. So I'll just put in mine and click search. And here it is, pulling up all my information that I have submitted to this account. You can see the contests I've entered, you can see the galleries I've entered, the popularity brackets, polls, etc. You can even click through and see the contests on an individual basis. So this is a great tool. If anyone even writes in asking a question, hey, did I enter this contest? This is a quick way to find that information. Now up here, after you've queried their information, you can actually click User Privacy Tools, and completely remove users' information and history. Now, something to keep in mind with this is that this only affects the user on the account that you've run this query on. We do have some tools in place, especially for some of the enterprise groups, where if you need to remove somebody across an entire network, we do have an API for that. So if you're on this call and that's something that you're wondering about, don't hesitate to reach out to support and we can get you that information. But we have worked with some of the bigger networks to provide that information to forget a user across an entire network. So keep in mind, this only affects the account that you're querying on. You can also edit the user's information as well. So if they're having a hard time updating something or they shoot you an email, you can jump in and fill out their information for them there as well. So I wanted to point that out. That's how, we try to, one of the many ways that we try to be CCPA compliant. And of course, as California does things, then the rest of the country does like to follow. So we want to make sure that we're compliant with all the various state laws that might come up due to privacy concerns. All right, something that we've added, I'd say within the year, is, and I think we actually did a tips and tricks on this, is adding OR statements to the user base. Now, if you're looking at my segments here, then you'll see that there's this option for the OR statements when I want to add a new conditional. Now, in the one that I have pulled up here, I want to pull a list of everyone who has entered a sweepstakes tagged with tips and tricks. So in order for me to meet that conditional, I have to have entered contests entered with tips and tricks. Now, a better example of how to use OR statements is under this zip code filter that I've created, or the zip code segment. And what I've done is listed all the zip codes that I know that are in my market or area. Now you only have to do this once. So if you're in a bigger market that has a ton of zip codes, maybe you could spend a few minutes in Userbase and type out something that looks similar to this, but it's really easy to do. Basically, I want to be able to query a list of anyone who is in my market based off of zip code. So I could say add new conditional. Oops, I'm sorry, I've already misled you here. So rather than add new conditional, I want to click OR because it's actually under the same conditional. I'm going to select the zip equals, and I don't know if there's an 84410 in my area, but we'll pretend like there is. So now it's going to pull anyone who has entered a contest with an 84410 zip code. Now keep in mind, we can only pull from data that's already been collected. So if your contests aren't asking for zip code information, then obviously this query is going to be not as useful. But jumping through some of these filters that I've created, and I'll actually show you how to create one in case you have any questions about that. Something that I really want to start promoting myself personally, Tim Sessions, as I go through these, is tagging your promotions. Now, if you don't know where to tag promotions, all you have to do is go into your promotion under more settings and type in some tags there. Now, what that's going to do is allow you to filter users based on certain interests. So with these tags, if it's a golf contest, maybe you want to tag it with golf. If they've entered in 2021, then maybe you want to do 2021. So you can actually say, show me a list of everyone who's entered a contest in 2021 because it's been tagged with 2021. That's a really easy way to do that. So tagging is a powerful feature. It's something that I see that will make more prominent in the future with future updates within Aptivata. So if you're not in the habit of tagging your contests, try to get in the habit, because I believe in any other tools that you all are using across your tech stack, tagging is probably a feature that is useful there. So as you can see, you can query anyone who has entered a sweepstakes tagged with tips and tricks. So if I wanted to change this, I could say anyone who's entered a sweepstakes tagged with golf and 2021. So then that shows me all my golf fans. How to query an entire database. This one's actually very simple. So if you need to download everyone who has entered a promotion, it's as simple as adding a new conditional, and the conditional is has connected and yes. If it's connecting before a certain date, you can do first connected before last week's date. We have a date chooser in there. So if you need to query your entire database, that's a great way to do it. We've already discussed how we do zip codes. And then you can also do age ranges. So in this one, I did want to point out that currently we don't have a greater than or equal to. So if I want to get everyone from 18 to 35, then I would put 17 because we want everyone greater than 17 and less than 36. So that's going to give me the 18 to 35 category. And of course, I'm going to use an and statement there. And then of course, ages 36 to 55. Now, as I was playing around with this, I created this age range and I hit find matching users. I'm not going to do that here now just because it will pop up some email addresses and I want to make sure that information stays private on here. But I hit find matching users and my name kept appearing in this age range. And I'm going to expose my age range here, but I kept looking at it and I was like, this thing must be broken. It's pulling in my name. I'm not that old. Well, I am that old. I had a senior moment, as they call them, and I was surprised that I was actually showing up in this age range here, but I definitely fit those demographics. I just forgot for a minute. So yeah, you can do age ranges, and these are just some examples. The possibilities, I'd like to say are endless of what type of data you can query. You can also query from fields. So like follow on LinkedIn. So who has followed me on LinkedIn in the last 3 months? So the way that I did that is has completed field. I found my tips and tricks contest, the most recent one, and it will pop up a list of all the fields that are present on that particular contest. And then I did it for the last 3 months. Another thing to consider on something like this is a lot of times people query how many people have signed up for newsletters across our database. Now, because the email opt-in field, yes, it is the same field type, but it can have so much information connected to it when you're editing that field. It's hard for our system to determine which fields are being used for email opt-ins and which ones aren't, because it is a checkbox field. And so where I'm getting at with this is if you want to query across your entire database for this account for who has opted into emails and who hasn't, it is a little bit of a manual process. I'll actually jump into creating a segment. But if this is something that you're wondering about, what that could look like is a new filter that says has completed field. You select your contest. I'm going to go here to the start and select the field. I'd like to receive emails regarding tips and tricks. So I'll select that one. And you don't want to add an and statement. You want to add an or statement because this is going to give you everyone who has completed that field or any other field that you select there. So if you haven't run a lot of contests on your account, this is a really easy one to set up. But if you have run a lot of contests similar to what we're looking at here, so if I pop that up, then it might be a little bit more of a cumbersome task, but it is doable. You can see it will take me a little while to pull in all of those fields. But once I do, it means that they have completed the field. Now you'd still need to download the CSV and see who those are who have opted in, just to make sure that you're not, importing a list of people who didn't opt in. But that is a way to query. I'll just call that email opt-ins. All right. And as soon as you do, you actually are saving this segment. So if I were to refresh this page, this segment would always be here. So a good thing to keep in mind is have segments that you can quickly query at any time. All right, and the last thing that I want to show you regarding Userbase before we get into picking a winner, because I want to respect all of your time here, we like to keep these short, is the custom user attribute. Now this is diving into the weeds just a little bit, but I don't know how many of you know that you can actually create custom user attributes. These can be used to be queried in Userbase, but they can also be used to import information into CRMs via integrations. So the user attribute that I have created is income level range, and we could do has been given. So to create a user attribute, you go into your account, and it's actually under where your name displays on your account, and there's this option that says user attributes. And we give a little definition of what user attributes are, but it's basically saying, I want to use this field to apply data to this individual who's entering this contest, and that information is then I guess stuck, for a lack of a better word, stuck with that user. Similar how to if somebody gives you their zip code, birthday, gender, and so forth, that information can stay with the individual entering your promotion. So I have one set here for income level, and it's as easy as a range of income provided by the user. Setting this up is super easy. If you have a network account that you can syndicate down to, you can actually syndicate these user attributes to be available on those accounts. This would warrant a deep dive into custom attributes, but they are pretty easy to set up. I just want to show you how they work in regard to Userbase here. So we have our custom attribute set up. Then I'm going to jump into one of my promotions, and I was creating this demo one here. And I have a drop-down field. In fact, I'll just create, well, actually no, because I already put in the information I want to put in there. So I've created, this is just a typical input drop-down field. I've labeled it income range, and I put in the income choices here that I want my users to select. Now, quick pro tip here, don't use a comma, because these fields, when you hit save choices, will look at that comma as a break in the line there. So that's why I have 20K. So what would happen if I hit save choices with that comma in there, it would actually add those 3 zeros as a separate choice. So this is what I decided to go with on my choices here. So I'll go ahead and save choices, make it required for entry. But then you'll see when you have user attributes created, you'll see an option to link to user attribute. And I can actually link this income level attribute here. So if this is a contest or a promotion that income range is important, then I can have that user attribute associated with individuals who enter this promotion. Then jumping back into Userbase, you can actually query from that custom attribute. So you could, if you knew what your ranges are, then you could pull in the ranges from that user attribute. So it says, hey, show me everyone in the 60 to 100,000 category here for their income level. So that can be a very powerful tool to deep dive into the data that you've collected. And like I said, user attributes, maybe that could be a dedicated tips and tricks on how to set those up, how to tie them to integrations. Of course, all CRMs are different, so some might accept them, some might not. But I did want to kind of end on that bombshell there, because that's a big one, and I just want to show you, how powerful this tool can really be. Now, the last thing that I want to emphasize on Userbase is currently the data that you're querying is within the account that you're in. So I'm at a parent account here. Well, actually, no, this is an individual account, but I can only query the data from this individual account as Userbase operates now. We're hoping to expand that in the future, but as of right now, this information is on account by account basis. So threw a lot of information your way, and just looking over things, it looks like there's not too many questions here, but we have you captivated with who's going to win the $100. I just want to make sure that you have a moment to ask any questions if you have them. Ryan, if you want to go ahead and throw that link in the chat one more time, everyone look in the chat for that link. If you haven't entered the giveaway, now's your chance. It looks like that link is live there. Go ahead and fill that out, and Ryan will be choosing a winner, and he'll direct message it to me so that we can announce it. So the way that this will look is I have the attendee panel pulled up. I think most of you have been here before. So if your name is called, hit that raise hand button. But it doesn't look like we have any more questions. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to enter the giveaway. And Ryan, if you want to navigate to the choose winner, go ahead and send that directly to me on, excuse me, in the chat here. Okay, looks like we have a winner. I will make sure you are here. Do we have a Nick Bruns on the call? Nick, if you are on this call, hit that raise hand button to send you to the top. There we go, we have it. Thank you so much, everyone. We have a winner. We appreciate everyone who attends these. I wish I could give you all $100, but then it would be deducted out of my paycheck. So just keep attending these tips and tricks calls. Hopefully you find them useful, and really just have a great rest of your day, and don't hesitate to reach out with any other questions that you might have.